Okay, so in a bowl, we're gonna start with flour, butter, very cold butter, and some salt, and that's basically it. And what we're going to do is we're going to rub the butter into the flour until it becomes a breadcrumb consistency, like I'm showing you right here. Once it reaches that consistency, then we are at the point where we can add in our ice cold water. When making gizzada crust, we want to make sure that everything that we're using is as cold as possible, because what we're essentially making is a short crust pastry, and the way that that is made is by using very cold butter. Everything cold butter, cold water, so that gives us that nice sort of not too crumbly but flaky pastry pie crust. So we're just going to knead that together, put it together. We're not really going to do a full knead like kneading dumpling. We're going to do more just putting the flour together until it is all combined. So this is what we want it to look like. Just come together, you know, make sure we get everything out the bowl as smooth as possible. And then what we're going to do is we're going to wrap it in cling wrap, a good wrap as tight as we can. And once it's all wrapped, we're going to put it in the fridge to rest and to cool again, because we've been sort of manipulating the flour and the butter. We want the butter to stay in its sort of solid consistency. Okay, let's move on to the filling. So for the filling, the gizzada filling, we're going to use fresh grated coconut, and with the coconut we're going to put brown sugar as well as spices of your choice. The spices that I use are cinnamon and nutmeg, and then the essences that I use are almond essence, just a very little bit of almond essence and vanilla. And we're just going to cook that all together in a pot to make it come to a nice sort of moist, syrupy consistency. So you'll just see here that I'm mixing it as we go. You'll see it, I'm looking just to see what the consistency is like. So we'll let that thicken up a bit more. And once that thickens up a bit, then it's good to go. Once it's done, once it's all cooked and combined, we'll just cover it and we'll let it cool. Okay, back to our pastry. Now we're gonna make the gizzada crust. So I'm just getting my work area ready, getting my pan ready, making sure my work area is clean, also making sure that my hands are clean. Always work with clean hands. You know, that's very important. Hygiene is very important. And then we'll start here. So what we're going to need of course is a work area to work with for our dough, as well as a rolling pin. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just lightly flour my surface so that when I'm rolling out the dough, it doesn't stick to my work surface. I want to make sure that everything kind of moves and is as pliable as possible. So we're undoing the plastic wrap from the dough that we made earlier that was placed in the fridge, so it's still cold, but it should have a nice consistency to it so that we're able to work with it. And I'm just flouring my rolling pin so that the dough doesn't stick to my rolling pin either. I'm just flattening down the dough a bit, and then we're gonna roll it out as much as we can. I like to roll mine out. If I were to give it a measurement, I would say not even an inch, maybe half an inch thick. Half an inch thick. That's how I do my gizzada. And you'll see how that looks in a little bit. So we'll just continue rolling it out until it feels like it's fairly even throughout. The reason why you see me keep touching it is I'm kind of trying to feel the thickness of it as I'm working on it. I'm going to actually be making 2 different size gizzada today. So you'll see that's my regular size. And then I have a mini size. You can basically use whatever you have. Those are just some plastic cups that I have that have now become my gizzada cutters. That's what I like to call them. Because I use them, they just maintain the standard size that I use for my gizzada. Yeah, so I'm just going to continue cutting out as much rounds as I can from the dough that I just rolled out. Okay, here comes the fun part. We are going to start pinching, hence the term that you may sometimes hear for gizzada is pinch me round, because you see what I'm doing? I'm going around and I'm pinching. So I'm basically just taking the sides of the dough, pressing down with my left index finger as a guide, and pinching with my right hand, thumb and index finger. And I'm just sort of flattening down the middle to make sure everything is nice and even. I have a nice little cup, and then I'm going to take a fork and poke some holes. And the reason for poking the holes is so that during the baking process the dough doesn't kind of swell up inside of it while it's in the oven, so that helps it from swelling. And then once that's done, I'm going to lay it on my tray and continue the process. we're all done. There's my tray. Okay, so this part now, we're filling the gizzada shells with the filling that we made earlier, and I'm so sorry that we missed the step in between, like showing you us actually filling it. I actually had to step out for an appointment, and so my husband took over at this point and he filled the cups for me. So the recording, he didn't get to recording it before he filled the pastry, but this shows you him after he's already filled each one of them. What we usually do is we fill, put scoops of the coconut filling in each one of the cups, and then we start neatening them up, flattening them into the cups and neatening them up. And that's what you can see him doing right there. He's filled each one of the cups. He's just making sure that they're nice and neat inside of there. And that's basically it. And then once it's done, there you go, all done. Nice and neat. It goes into the oven. Once it goes into the oven, then voila. This is what you get. Nice, juicy, fresh, crispy gizzada. Nice crust, juicy filling, beautiful flavors. It's just so delicious. You should smell my kitchen at this time. So good. If you haven't tried gizzada, it's something that I'm pretty sure once you love coconut, you're gonna love it. These are my package. As you know, I'm Jamie from Jamie's Treats. So these are my package gizzada. Thank you for watching.